Well, hello there. Welcome to the show, IB Sports Talk, IB Nation Sports Talk. Great to have you with us. I think I'd know the name of my own show by now, wouldn't you, Vince?
You would think, but I made that mistake, I think, every single time last week. So
yeah, it's easy to do.
It is what it is.
Yep. Wait till
we start having the other show, and that one's going to start rolling off your tongue when you're in the other one, and yeah. So good luck with that.
That's true. That is very true. Maybe you'll just have to be, be the mouthpiece on that.
I don't want that kind of pressure. I don't want that kind of pressure.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. It's great to have you with us, though, here. The eve of fall training camp. It is on tomorrow. And let me just start by asking you this, Vince. Scale of 1 to 10. How's your excitement level for the start of this fall camp compared to maybe, any fall camp over the past few years?
Well, obviously there's heightened excitement because of just all the newness, right? There's new staff members, new head coach. I think the last time there was a new head coach, there wasn't this excitement going into the initial season because the roster wasn't as good. So, there's definitely excitement. I put it at like an 8, I would say. There's a few things that I have some trepidation about, and it has nothing to do with the team. So, it's just, now the work starts. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yes.
That's honestly,
that's like even me. Like I've been excited all week, and really since they announced the schedule a couple of weeks ago, I've been excited, and it's like, we finally get something. We get something tangible to see, and we get all these opportunities and interviews and everything else, and just like we were just sitting here talking amongst ourselves before the show started. It's like, there's actual work that's going to be starting. Pretty soon. It goes along with.
And look, we are blessed beyond measure to be able to be at practice and do what we do.
Wrong.
It's awesome. It's awesome, but it's also a job, and there's a lot going on at these practices. You know what I mean? That we got to take all these notes, and we got to, every pass is critiqued, every route is critiqued. How a lineman uses his hands is critiqued. Like there's a lot going on, and there are only so many sets of eyeballs on there. So like there's work.
That's the key.
Yes.
There's the amount
work.
Of eyeballs. The amount of eyeballs.
There's work that needs to be done, and it is stressful at times, but at the end of the day, it's awesome. Don't get me wrong. It is awesome. It's football season. It's Notre Dame football.
We'll actually have an excuse to be, because like we've been out there for different outlets really the last few times, we've been out there together. We will actually have an excuse to sit next to each other and talk now. It'll be mostly work talk, but still, like we can actually talk and not have to feel guilty about it, right?
Exactly. And it's going to be work talk, but we're going to be next to each other at practice, and we're going to be next to each other at games, which is really what I'm excited about. I used to have to get up, walk all the way down the aisle, and, to make comments to you about certain things. And we haven't done that since like the
old days.
08, 09.
Probably 08, 07 or 08 or something.
Yeah.
Well, maybe into 9 and 10. I think we were together.
Okay. But it's been a while.
But still, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. That was numerous kids ago for me. So that was a long time ago.
It's probably all 5 of them.
Not quite, but close.
So we'll be out there tomorrow morning, 9:30, watching the first full practice at camp. Marcus Freeman, press conference afterwards. You'll get all the coverage, irishbreakdown.com and the premium boards, and here in the podcast, you and Brian will be doing a podcast right afterwards as I slip into transcription mode and all that kind of stuff, writing up my Marcus Freeman stuff. So, Saturday we're going to get to watch the first 5 periods of practice. Then we talk to Tommy Reese and the quarterbacks afterwards. So that should be interesting as well. And then Monday we'll get Al Golden and the linebackers. So a lot of stuff coming up these first few days, both coordinators and the head coach. We're going to jump right into it.
It's not often that we get access to the first 3 practices, essentially. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like that is right on. Usually like, okay, you get one practice and then there's like a week before you get to go back. And so you almost have to like save up all your content, and spread it out over the week or whatever. we get 3 practices, like boom, 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 Friday, Saturday, Monday, boom, 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 boom. And it's awesome. I mean, it's fantastic. It's exciting.
I know. Hey, want to also mention coming up tonight, Brian and Ryan are going to have a live show coming your way, 7:30 Eastern time, which is when Baton Rouge linebacker Jaden Osbury is going to announce his commitment. So be looking for that here on the Irish Breakdown channel. That'll be coming up live tonight at 7:30. Also, the friendly request, smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, rate, comment, all that kind of stuff wherever you happen to listen or watch. It helps the Irish Breakdown channels out greatly, so be sure to do that for us. We would much appreciate it. So today we're going to be making some predictions for who we think will have breakout seasons for the Fighting Irish. We're doing this on the eve of the start of fall camp, and we'll revisit the list in about 3 weeks and kind of see, maybe if we feel the same about what our predictions look like today, since we will have plenty of viewing opportunities. So we'll kind of check ourselves in 3 weeks or so heading into the season if we think the breakout guys are going to be what we're about to predict today.
Perfect.
I've got 4 defensive players. Vince has 5 offensive players we're going to nominate today. And I guess, we can also, like if we think that there's, like if I think that maybe there's another offensive guy or you think there's another defensive guy, we can throw those in as well. But I guess my first question is, do we have an official definition of breakout player? Because I'm trying to determine where some of these guys fit in. Is Chris Tyree still breakout eligible? Lorenzo Styles, he had a big game, but that was kind of, at the end of a pretty average season. Tyler Buckner, we saw a lot of him, but he obviously was not the starter last year. Smaller doses. So what do you think about that?
So I wondered the same thing, and we didn't really talk about the parameters of a breakout. So
no, we didn't.
In my head, I was thinking to myself, okay, I think it needs to be a non-starter from last year. It could be somebody who contributed, but it has to be a non-starter from last year. And then I felt like it needed to be a younger player as well, because the older guys like a Braden Lenzy, for example, I think he's going to have the best season of his career. But I don't think I can call that a breakout because he's been around for a while and we've seen flashes. And
I think he broke out with all those, with the long touchdowns a couple of years ago.
Right. And so
like the USC touchdown and that kind of thing.
Right. And so I don't think he would qualify. You know what I mean? Like Avery Davis, I think this could be his best season of his career, but that doesn't qualify as a breakout. You know what I mean? He's been around. He's a graduate student. He's been here. So I went with younger guys who were not starters. And I realize as I'm saying that one guy was a starter, but I will also say not a starter at this time last year. And that'll cover my base.
I'm trying to think of who okay, well, we'll get to that in a second. First, though, we've got a hot take from Charlie Weiss's last belt loop.
Yeah.
He says Meriwether is going to be the leading touchdown receiver. Mark that down. I mean, that is Stephen A. Smith hot take type stuff right there. I mean, that is like that is bold on top of bold.
It is
what that is. Yeah, that's like putting hot sauce on top of your hot salsa to go out with that. A freshman is going to be the leading touchdown receiver at Notre Dame.
Okay, so he said TD receiver, so that means out of the receiver room. Okay, maybe. But if it was just a touchdown, anybody that catches touchdowns, I would say no.
I mean, it could happen. I don't know. We all know, that this is a guy with a lot of skill, but we kind of referenced this earlier this week. What's the, is the sort of all or nothing attitude with freshman receivers that has been here for the last dozen years? Is that going to stick with a new regime? And
mostly nothing.
And different guy calling the shots and all that kind of stuff. Or do we see, even if Tobias Meriwether is not 100% ready to go at the start of the season, there's a former Notre Dame quarterback who used to tell me, stories about Golden Tate and how Charlie Weiss, speaking of Charlie Weiss's last belt, they would line Golden up as close to the Notre Dame sideline as they could, on whatever play that he was out there. And they would basically yell to him from the sideline, what his route concept was supposed to be,
Crazy.
that kind of thing. And, so they found a way to get a very talented, obviously, and fast guy out there on the field. That's going outside the box for sure. But, that's, again, like when you've got a receiver room that is as thin as it is and as many questions as it is, do you kind of go the extra yard to try to at least get this guy on the field sooner than later?
Well, and I will say,
let's just start with him because,
that's fine. Yeah,
we might as well, since we're talking about him. He's on your list
of
breakout players.
Absolutely.
So, we can just kind of go from there with Tobias.
Well, he obviously qualifies. He didn't start last year at Notre Dame. He started for his high school team. But he also is a young guy. Clearly, he's a true freshman. But everything that we're hearing from our intel is that he's dove into the playbook. He knows the playbook, so that part is not going to be an excuse, like we've heard a million times before from younger wide receivers or from the coaches about younger wide receivers, right?
Right.
So he's dove into the playbook. He's good to go there. He's a physical specimen. I mean, he's big, he's strong, he's fast. He has every opportunity, especially with the depth chart the way it is, to be very, very successful. He's going to get a ton of playing time. I would actually say, as a true freshman, I think he's going to get the most playing time of all the true freshmen.
I think he'll get like more playing time than any freshman receiver we've basically seen in probably the last 12 years.
Oh, that's a fact. Yeah. Okay. No. Absolutely.
Okay.
I was saying he's going to get the most of any freshman in his class, but
okay,
fair enough. I say that too, because freshmen just didn't play under Kelly. They just didn't for whatever reason. They just did not play. And, they were running guys out like Freddie Canteen and, guys like that when they had, future 1,000-yard receivers sitting on the sidelines. Like, that makes zero sense to me, right? But that's what they decided to do. And I think Tobias Meriwether is grasping onto this opportunity with both hands, and it has been a whirlwind so far. He's one of the ones I'm most excited to see tomorrow, to be honest with you. So I think he's absolutely going to break out. He's going to end up being one of the leading receivers. I'm not ready to say the leading receiver, but one of the leading receivers for Notre Dame.
I think he's got a great shot, to do all the stuff. From a talent standpoint, there is no denying it. And, like you said, the fact that, it sounds like he's really up on the playbook, that's going to help him quite a bit, right off the top. And, and the fact that he is already doing that is great, over the summer. But it's just, again, it's BKPTSD. That's the only thing that I guess that sort of would hold me back from completely buying into seeing a freshman like receiver specifically like that on the field as much. But
right.
Got to get past it.
Yep.
The PTSD, I mean.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that creeps up in my mind an awful lot too. So I'll be the first one to admit it.
So I'll jump over to the defensive side, and my first breakout guy is going to be Marcus Freeman. And, he played in 10 games, made 3 starts, finished with just 22 tackles a couple of years ago. That's really the last time we saw him in action in a real game, when he was in that timeshare at the Buck linebacker with Shane Simon. And that Buck linebacker spot, that tag team that they had there, they combined for only 36 tackles that season. It was the weak spot of the defense. But, again, like I feel like it's a broken record, but Leofau was one of the biggest surprises of fall training camp last year, right? Up until he broke his ankle, and then we didn't get to see him, unfortunately. And that turned into J.D. Bertrand having his own breakout season last year. But now we're going to have an opportunity to see the two of these guys together. And like those two, along with Jack Kaiser, I've got more, I feel better about this linebacking group, 1 through 3, that frontline unit than I have felt about a Notre Dame linebacking group probably since like you'd have to go back to probably 2017 or so, when you had Tranquil and Coney and Morgan out there, and I feel really good about this linebacker group. And the biggest reason is because of what we saw from Marcus Freeman last fall. And, assuming he's able to jump right back in and find that gear and play like we saw him during training camp last year, there's every reason to think that this is going to be a great linebacking group. And so, again, Leofau played, but you wouldn't say that he starred at linebacker 2 years ago. So that's why I put him at the top of my defensive breakout player list.
No, that's fair. And I think that, he didn't play last year. And so he has every opportunity to break out. I think he's going to be somewhat of a household name, to be honest with you, once, half the season gets through, or, you get to when you start, when really after game one, potentially, because I think he's going to be flying all over the field against Ohio State too, but he's going to be a household name. He has every opportunity to be the leading tackler on a defense that could be elite, depending on what happens in the back four. So
yeah,
I think that I'm with you 100% on Marist. I heard somebody talking the other day about, what were the stories of fall camp last year? Well, Marist Leofau was the story of fall camp last year.
Yeah.
And he has every opportunity to be the story of fall camp again this year.
He does.
Because I just have a feeling you and I are going to be like, yeah, he's really good. I mean, just watching him and fly around and be that guy. And I also remember talking to you about the fact that how are they going to split reps between Marist and JD? Because they were both probably the best defensive players that we saw flying around the football last year.
Yeah.
And they're both playing the same position. And like you said, JD slides over to Mike, and that's quite the dynamic duo inside.
I just think those two specifically are going to be able to cover so much more. Like JD could still cover a lot of ground himself last year, but I just think the overall ground that those two are going to be able to cover, the athleticism, both in the passing game and, obviously against the run. And I think that it's just, a little bit truer fit for Bertrand to be able to move over there to Mike with Drew White now.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I'm really excited about this linebacking group. All right, so who's your next offensive player, Vince?
Okay, we're going back and forth. I like that. Let's see here. So let's see, where's my list? There it is. Okay. So my next one, and I'll just come right out with the obvious one. It's Tyler Buckner, right? I mean, he's going to be the starting quarterback at the University of Notre Dame. Okay. And if they have the season that we think that they're going to have, I think an average Tyler Buckner gets this team to 10 wins. So an above average Tyler Buckner, we're talking 11 wins and a potential playoff berth, to be honest. So when you're the quarterback at Notre Dame, you're going to get publicity, whether you deserve it or not. But I think his stats and his playmaking ability are going to more than make up for it. I think he's going to be a star, frankly. And I don't know how fast that's all going to come to him, how fast that's going to happen, but I think it's going to happen. I mean, look, Ian Book was a Heisman Trophy. He got votes in the Heisman Trophy, and he threw like 15 touchdowns the whole season. Okay. If Ian Book can get votes for the Heisman Trophy, then Tyler Buckner is just going to be off the charts, frankly. So I'm very excited about what Tyler Buckner is going to do. I've already talked to Brian. My charge tomorrow, one of the charges that I have tomorrow, watch number 12. Watch his footwork, watch his release, watch where the ball plays, all of that stuff. It's going to be Tyler Buckner all around, and I'm pretty excited to watch it.
Watching the footwork.
Yep.
Day one, baby.
That's right, man. Got to make sure that there's no ails from that massive step that he missed,
That's right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, feels like he played in more than 6 games last year.
It does.
It's funny looking at his stat line, and it's it just seemed like he was out there more than that. But yeah, I mean, again, he was a package guy last year, so he fully qualifies to be a breakout candidate. And just looking at some of the comments, a lot of people are really high on Tyler Buckner, and you should be. I think it's fair to be this excited about a guy. Like when you think about a young quarterback like this, I mean, like, I'm trying to think of like how far. Maybe Jimmy Clausen. Maybe you don't have to go back that far. Like since there was like this sort of anticipation and build up for a Notre Dame quarterback. Because we didn't have that with Brady Quinn, but because he came in.
He was not a high heralded quarterback.
He overtook Carlisle Holiday basically, and Carlisle Holiday was a great guy, and I still remember like the press conference after, everybody found out that Brady Quinn was taking him, and Carlisle was talking about there was some T-shirt that people were wearing around. He's like, it said Carlisle's out, Quinn to win. And he was joking about it at his own press conference. Where they're talking about Brady Quinn overtaking him as quarterback. But yeah, so it was a different situation, I guess.
Sure.
Obviously, we're no trumpets for Ian Book coming in. Being a three-star guy coming out of school and all that kind of stuff. So it's been a while since there's been this kind of excitement.
Absolutely.
And, I think that, there's every reason to believe that you should be excited about him. I think, we all think that he's going to have a really good year. The passing is obviously going to be his thing, and I've said it before, when he's forced into passing situations like he was in a few like the Virginia Tech game specifically, how different is that going to look this year?
And that's fair.
As you've pointed out, he wasn't practicing those things. They weren't throwing blitzes in his face and that kind of stuff. It was basically
his package.
There's a few plays that you're going to run and go out and run it.
Absolutely. So now he's got the whole playbook. He's got the team. He's got the command. So, what am I going to be looking for tomorrow? Yeah, all that technical stuff that Brian wants me to look at. I love that. That's fine. But I'm also going to be looking at how he's running the team. How are the guys responding to him? It's one practice, right? But we get to see a bunch. And so I'm really excited to see where all that is, because from everything we've heard, Drew Pine is still the vocal leader, because that's always going to be his personality. He's always going to be the hype man, right? And that's not necessarily who Tyler Buckner is, but can he lead the team without being the overly hyped man, right? So it's going to be fun to watch, and it's going to be a lot of fun, frankly. I've been waiting for a dynamic quarterback for a while.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so my next defensive player is going to be Jordan Batello. Do you agree that Jordan Batello is breakout eligible?
I agree that he is breakout eligible because of his talent level.
But you don't think he's going to break out? Is that kind of your hesitation?
I'm worried, because he's one of those guys that falls under the category of I just don't know what's going to happen when he's not at practice.
Yeah, and that
worries me.
One of the things that's held him back to this point.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
His inconsistencies and that, the gray matter.
Yeah.
What's up here?
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Look, this is not a secret. This is not a surprise. He has made some very poor decisions off the field. And if he can clean that part up, he could be a dynamic football player. You could play him at Viper. You could play him at Rover. You could move him inside. You could move him all over the place. He could be the ultimate kind of chess piece in this defense. He totally could be. He could be that breakout guy, but he's got to get it all together. It's got to all work for him on and off the field. That's the part I'm just worried about is all.
Yeah. And that's, I wonder with, again, now you've got a new set of eyes, his defensive coordinator from a year ago, and now, a new defensive coordinator, obviously, in Al Golden. He obviously made some plays in the blue gold game. And again, we're not going to read too much into one, exhibition game, basically. But at the same time, that's the kind of stuff that Jordan Batello is capable of. And that's, part of what's frustrating. He's a junior now. So if it's not going to happen this year, it's not going to happen.
Agreed.
Basically, that's how I look at it, because he's going to have opportunities. And it basically comes down to what you were talking about.
That's a really good point. It's kind of a make or break season for him. There's no doubt about that. And, if he can't figure it out, whether it's on the field or off the field or both or whatever, if he can't figure it out, it's going to be one of those situations where you're going to be like, you know what? Transfer portal is a real thing. You might want to use it, kind of a situation. And this is Vince speaking. This isn't, the coaches telling us anything or any of that. I don't want anybody to think that. It's me talking. But once you hit your junior year, and if you haven't gotten it kind of put together and kind of gotten a path to the field and a path with your career, there's other guys that can take that shot for you. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens with him. I hope for the best, man, because I think he could be a really key part to what could be a really, really good defense.
Yep. I completely agree. And like you said, he's the kind of guy you basically, like, he's your queen on the chessboard. You can play him and move him anywhere you want, just about, with the exception of the secondary. But there's just a lot that you can do with him. So that's why I think that this could really be,
absolutely,
should be his opportunity. So, all right, who is your third offensive breakout candidate, Vince?
So, I'm going through the offense and I'm trying to decide, who's going to fit this criteria, et cetera. And now this kid did start. He definitely started the bowl game for sure. Kind of had a breakout game, but I still feel like he's an unknown when it comes to the rest of the country. And I went with Lorenzo Styles. And right now, Lorenzo Styles is your best returning wide receiver. I mean, he showed what he has and where he's at, and one more year under his belt. I think I'm excited for where he's going to end up being this season. He's going to be counted on. There's going to be a lot of pressure on his shoulders because of everything that I just said. But I think he can handle it. I think he has the potential to be the number one receiver in this offense. And here's why. He's got the tools. He's got the speed. He's got the hands. But he's also got the versatility. You can put him at slot. You can put him outside at the field side. Right. You could even move him around and put him over on the boundary side, right? He could do that. There's no question in my mind. So he's kind of the offensive chess piece. But the difference between him and Batello is he's proven himself, in my opinion. But you can move him around. You can do a lot of things with him. You could get him involved in the run game and the jet sweeps and all of those different things. I think he's kind of the ultimate X-Man on this offense. And if they use him right, he's going to have a massive breakout season.
Yeah, and I mean, really, I don't know about Lindsey in the slot, but, some of those things that you were talking about obviously are applicable to him as well. So I guess my point is you could see those, even though they're both at the same, receiver spot, you could see them both on the field at the same time.
No doubt.
And I think you almost have to, because, considering they're two of the fastest and most talented receivers they've got. But yeah, I completely agree with everything you said. And we saw that, his opportunity came in the Fiesta Bowl. He made the most of his opportunity. Like everyone else on the offense, unfortunately, it kind of disappeared in the second half. You can't put that all on him.
Sure.
But he should be the alpha dog of that receiving group this year. Now that's, again, that's not taking anything away from the young guy that we talked about earlier, Tobias Meriwether, because he is obviously uber talented as well. But we've obviously got to see it on the field. But I know that you're going even farther out, since we didn't even see him in a spring practice, and you're already ready to put it as one of the breakouts just based on the intel from the
absolutely. And the other thing that I have to keep reminding myself is Lorenzo's going to be a true sophomore, right? I mean, he was a true freshman last year. Had a good true freshman season. We, haven't really seen that. And now he's going to be a true sophomore, and we're expecting him to be kind of the alpha dog, right? And so that's a lot of pressure on a young guy, but I think he can handle it. I really do.
Yep, I completely agree with that. Okay, so that is your third offensive player, and that means that I've got to come to my third defensive player, and I'm going with a young guy this time. He's how do I want to say? He's what we got to see him. He was an early enrollee. He's a freshman. How many? He had a great spring. How many times do we see guys have great springs and then we don't hear from them again for like another year or two?
Yeah.
I think this guy is going to be different, and I'm talking about Jaden Mickey, the corner. And part of that is because of what we were talking about yesterday when we were talking about, I got a gnat flying around in here, when we were talking about position battles,
right?
Is there's going to be opportunity for Jaden Mickey, now this during this fall camp. It's a matter of, can he seize that opportunity? And, he had the eye-catching spring, and now he goes into training camp as a little bit of an understudy at cornerback. But, unlike, on Seinfeld, when George Costanza barreled into Bette Midler at the plate on the understudy episode. I don't know if you remember that. It's not going to take that for Jaden Mickey, to have his opportunity because of the fact he's already shown that he can do some of that in the spring, and now he's going to get some opportunities. And who knows what we end up, whether it's outside at boundary, whether maybe it's the nickel, or parts of both. I think we're going to see a lot of Jaden Mickey this season.
Oh, I agree with you. He's going to play. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Is he going to snatch a starting position? Remains to be seen. I think he's going to push for that second corner position. Because look, we know Cam Hart can play the boundary, he can play the field. Where they're going to end up with him is still a little bit up in the air. I think it really depends on who wins that second corner job and where they're better suited, to be honest with you. But he's also competing with Tariq Bracy for that nickel spot. It's, from what we understand, it's a two-man race for that nickel spot.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be real interesting to see, who ends up winning that. Look, bottom line is Jaden Mickey's going to play. And they never just play 2 to 3 corners. They're going to play 3, 4, 5 corners, right? Mm-hmm. He's going to be in that mix. It just depends on what that ends up being, because look, the kid has an attitude that you want from a defensive back. Like, he is hyped up all the time. He knows he's the best corner in the country, whether that's true or not. That's what he knows. And he's going to tell you about it. And he's going to play with that swagger. And it's a good, positive swagger, in my opinion, at least up to this point. Let's see where it goes, as he gets on the field and things like that. But I like what I see in practice. He's going to play, and he's going to play a lot.
Yep. Anthony Solomon chiming in. He was really excited for what Price could add to the running back room. And that's like, I was kind of, this summer, when there was less going on, I was like putting together my list of who I thought, might be some breakout candidates. And he was on my original list. I think he would have been on pretty much everybody's list, based on what we saw from him in the spring. It's very unfortunate, but, hopefully he gets back to health, and, maybe next year is his opportunity for a breakout. And, like Logan Diggs still maybe has that opportunity, right?
Oh.
Like if he comes back.
Well, and everything we're hearing, and he's on track to come back potentially in September, which is crazy based on what his injury was and what the prognosis was. I mean, and there's even an outside chance that he comes back for Ohio State. So yeah, that's an exciting venture all by itself. So again, going to see what he's up to, tomorrow, and where he's at and all those different things. So it's going to be fun. The hardest part about practice number 1, and I realize I'm veering away from the topic, it's all these guys that change their numbers and figuring out who's who. It's like, I've got my roster and trying to figure out who's who.
It's like you're so used to, and like, because Styles changed his number to Kevin Austin's number 4, you got used to seeing Kevin Austin out there, and now it's going to be Lorenzo Styles. At least I have that in my brain already. Yeah, but there are always others, and it's like there's going to be one who, no matter what, he's changed his number, and every time I see that number, I'm going to have to look at the card, to make sure.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's right. He changed his number. Thanks.
You're right. You are 100% right. And the one for me, I think it's going to be awesome to see, frankly, is the fact that Audric Estime is going to be a single digit, number 7.
Yeah.
Number 7. I'm not going to lie.
Leonard Fournette in him there.
I was hoping he was going to go 6, but but maybe that was disrespectful to the bus. I don't know, but there is no offensive number 6. Ooh. So I was hoping he would do that, but hey, I'll take the single digit.
That would have been really juicy if he would have gone to number 6. That would have been really nice. But
I know.
Take 7.
I know.
All right. I think so. Is that your 4th?
Let me.
Who are we just? No, we were talking about
Jaden Mickey. More. So I've got one more.
Yeah, you've got the last offensive player now.
And it's funny because I was tossing back and forth between 2 guys for my 4th one, and I realized when I said my criteria, I was thinking of the other guy, the one I didn't pick, and so the one I ended up picking was Fisher on the offensive line, right? Blake Fisher, look, he has the potential to be a breakout because he didn't play last year. Yeah. I mean, he played half
in the last game.
Yeah, he played a half of a game in game 1, and he played a full game, obviously, in the bowl game. But he has an opportunity to play a full season, and just look, this kid's an animal. He's a monster. And since he didn't start the whole season, I put him on my breakout list. The other guy I was talking about was Joe Alt. I mean, this tandem of tackles that Notre Dame has the potential to both break out, to be honest with you. And that's the exciting part for me. They haven't had that in a long time. And I think that they're going to be household names when it's all said and done, because they're going to be returned. They have to come back next year, right? They have to come back for 23 because they're only true sophomores. Yeah. So they're going to get so much pub this time next year as the 2 returning tackles for Notre Dame, who could potentially have a top 5 offensive line this year. They'll be returning to it. It's going to be crazy. They're going to be on all kinds of award lists and all of that. I think they're
talking about him as first-round draft picks.
Yeah,
and the whole thing.
Absolutely, they're going to be the ones to watch, no doubt.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, completely agree. Nothing to add to that on Blake Fisher. I mean, there's a reason. He was out there starting as a freshman at left tackle last year,
right,
to begin with. So to have Alt on the left side now and him on the right,
that's.
I can't imagine there's a better sophomore tackle tandem in the country than those two.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good problem to have for sure. As Harry Hiestand is coming in and you pretty much have your tackles locked in for the next 2 years. Yep. So good problem to have.
All right. My last breakout candidate back on the defensive side is Riley Mills. He has played, he's played for the last 2 years, 9 games as a freshman, played all 13 games last year, but he's yet to really achieve what I would call impact status. Like they moved Myron Tagovailoa-Mosa obviously over to defensive end last year, so he was more in a reserve role. And I mean, he's played in 22 games, just 23 tackles and 3.5 sacks. So we know there's so much upside there, so much talent, and now he's going to have so much more opportunity on that end. What Brian calls the big defensive end, strong, side, whatever you want to call it. And he'll also get to play inside a little bit. And again, I think I was touching on that the other day, like the possibility that you could see Riley Mills move inside in certain situations, and maybe you stick Jordan Batello out there, on his outside hip, and then you've got Foskey and Adamalola on the other side. That's pretty formidable defensive line right there. But I just think we've kind of, again, maybe not to the extent of Jordan Batello, but we've sort of been. I think a lot of people thought maybe last year was going to be Mills' breakout. Didn't quite happen.
Right.
But I think that this year should be it for him.
Riley Mills is 100% going to have a breakout year. He's like you said, he's going to be starting opposite Isaiah Foskey. So from the get-go, he's going to be getting single teamed. I mean, he's going to be one-on-one because all the attention is going to be on Foskey, right? Yeah. And so he's going to get no attention whatsoever, and he's going to make him pay for it. I mean, he's gotten bigger, stronger, faster. I mean, the kid is a specimen. You see him walking around, it's like, oh baby. I mean, this kid is going to be really, really, really good. I have full faith in that. Well, it's going to be awesome to watch.
It's going to be tough, because like I was thinking about Foskey and how a lot of times you don't see guys always follow up a great sack year with another great sack year, but it's because they start getting more attention, and this kind of happened with Jerry Tillery a few years back. Well, the difference for Isaiah Foskey this year is one, he's got Adamalola playing right next to him. And, he had his own share of sacks last season. Right. And then you've got Mills on the other side. And again, like if you were to slide Mills inside and put somebody like Batello or, whoever, even, like slide, the other Adamalola out to the outside over there, which they did sometimes last year. And it's like that's headaches for an offensive line. Who are we going to block in those situations? So that's why I think that Isaiah Foskey still has a really great chance to have another big year, and why these other guys can really flourish as well, because there's always going to be decisions to be made in terms of who you're going to choose to block on any given play.
No doubt about it. And that's what makes good defensive lines great. You can't focus on one guy. You've got to focus on multiple guys. And I think right out the bat, people are going to be focused on 7, and you should be. He's going to be really good. And I think other guys are going to make teams pay for that early. And I hope they make them pay for that early and often in game 1. So we'll see.
Yep. All right, Vince. It's rapid fire time.
That time. I'm ready.
Yes. And we're going to go to some listener stuff before we get to the questions that we had here.
Okay.
Because this was kind of brewing a little bit in the chat. Cameron asked, can Notre Dame beat Ohio State realistically or unlikely? I'm a massive Notre Dame fan. They aren't favored for a reason, potentially. And then RH responded, Notre Dame's only chance to beat Ohio State is to Michigan them, which is basically ram the ball down their throat right at them. Unfortunately, there's no snow in the forecast. Their defensive coordinator from last year was fired. Yes, both of those things are true. You do have a new defensive coordinator coming in, but basically both of Ohio State's losses last year, Oregon and Michigan, they got the ball run down their throats. Their linebackers really got exposed. And again, now you've got a new defensive coordinator, but that would still appear to be, a successful running game would still appear to be the way, for Notre Dame to have a chance in that game to open up the season, I think.
Look, Notre Dame has to run the ball. I mean, there's no way around that. They 100% have to run the ball. Okay. So they're going to have to win the game in the trenches. I fully believe that. Look, the defensive coordinator for Ohio State is the same defensive coordinator that Notre Dame put over 500 yards of total offense on in the last game of last season. So, okay, but this is his first game too with this new set of personnel. Is the personnel?
Now, in fairness, he wasn't coaching in that game, but it was his scheme.
That's his scheme, right? It was his scheme. So again, it's a number. It's a point on the graph, right? That's all I'm saying. He's going to have better personnel at Ohio State than he had at Oklahoma State, but it's also going to be game one in a brand new system. Do we realistically really think all the kinks are going to be worked out of that defense in game one? Look, Notre Dame had a pretty darn good defense last year. The kinks certainly weren't worked out of that defense, especially in the second half against Florida State. Okay. So I'm just saying, I do think Ohio State's defense is going to be a little bit vulnerable. Look, Notre Dame's going to have to score points to win this game. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that. Notre Dame's going to have to score points. They're going to have to outscore Ohio State to a degree, right? And they got to win the game in the trenches. If they can do those two things, they got a great shot of winning, okay? Am I predicting that they're going to win? No, I'm not at the moment, right? But can they win? Yes, of course they can win, and there's a recipe for that. There's also a recipe for Notre Dame getting blown out. So I mean, you can go either way with this.
I mean, there's a recipe for everything.
Exactly. Right? Absolutely. So, yes, it is realistic that they can win. But I'll take Notre Dame in the points all day. I don't think they're going to get blown out. I don't.
I agree. All right. As we know, fall training camp starts tomorrow. But it's the thick of summer, Vince. Should we actually call it fall camp or something else?
Well, I really don't. I never thought of it that way, by the way, until you brought it up. And I really don't think of it as – so you have to call it fall camp because you just got done with summer conditioning, right? So it differentiates.
Practice, summer conditioning.
Spring practice, summer conditioning, fall camp, and you're preparing for a fall of football. So I really don't have a problem with it, even though the worst part about fall camp is that it's hotter than blazes outside, and it's terrible weather-wise.
Especially this week. I mean, it is just like last week it was very moderate. It was like 70s and pretty pleasant outside. It has been hot and sticky this week. And of course, this was the first week, of high school football practices this, fall sports season, So I'd like to answer the question. Yeah, I completely agree. I think you still call it, fall training camp because it is more about, like it is the fall semester. It's about the season that it's attached to. I think so as well. But you're right, man. It is brutal. Unbearable.
And, out there. Let me be the guy to complain here. Okay. The beautiful new indoor facility at Notre Dame. It's beautiful. It's no air conditioning. Okay. There's no air conditioning in there. So even when we're inside, it's not all that pleasant. So just want to put that out there. So we're not living in the lap of luxury. And what they will do tomorrow is they'll warm up indoors and then they'll immediately go outdoors. So we'll be outdoors with them the whole time. And it's going to be hot and it's going to be miserable, but at least it's in the morning, not in the thick of the afternoon. So I will say that part.
Yeah. Like NFL, they just call it training camp. Right?
That's true.
I'm thinking about it. They just call it traiing camp.
Well, they have a ton of different things in the NFL. They got like rookie mini camp. Yeah. They've got OTAs. They've got a million different things. So that's going to be, that's interesting too.
Yeah. Okay. Fox College Football tweeted this question yesterday. I have a feeling I know what everyone's going to answer.
Right.
But here's what they tweeted. Who will have more wins this season? Brian Kelly or Marcus Freeman? Go.
I mean, is there even a doubt what we're going to say here? I mean, look, again, if I'm just being, I'm going to be the outside guy. I'm not going to be the fan, right, on this one. Notre Dame, in my analyst mind, their floor is 10 wins. They're 10 wins. So I will go worst
floor. You're saying their floor is 10. So you're locking them in at 10.
I'm locking them in at 10. I don't see a third loss there. Okay. So I'm locking them in at 10. So that's the floor. So let's look at LSU. Let's go through this. Let's have some fun here, Sean. LSU versus Florida State, game 1. Who wins that game?
I mean, that's a toss-up.
It is. I agree. So we'll give it to LSU. I'll be nice.
Okay.
LSU versus Southern. I'm going to hope that LSU can win that game.
I mean, that would be –
it would be great, but –
like, again, we've got the Osbury commit coming up later tonight, the kid from Baton Rouge. That would, like, if Osbury commits to Notre Dame tonight and LSU were to lose to Southern, I just can't stop laughing.
It would be great. It would be great. That's all there is to it. So LSU versus Mississippi State. What do you think?
I'll give that one to LSU.
Okay. And it's a home game. I should have said that. It's a home game for LSU.
Yeah.
LSU.
Well, they've got road games at Auburn, Florida, Arkansas, and Texas A&M. And I know we're going to go through the schedule, but those are their four. Yeah. So
LSU at home against New Mexico. LSU should win that game. So
even without Bob Davie,
right? Bob Davie. So they should be. Let's say they're 4-0. So we got 4 wins. All right, they're going on the road to Auburn. Toss up at best.
I'm going to say loss.
Okay,
that's my L. I don't know. Okay. Maybe that's backwards on your screen.
That's funny. So 4-1. So they're 4-1. Okay. Then they go. Then they have a home game against Tennessee.
I'll give them that one.
Okay, 5-1 on the road.
Although it'll be competitive, I think. But
I think it will be too. I think Tennessee and LSU are in very similar situations, but I think the recruiting at Tennessee is better. So, Florida LSU in the swamp. I don't think LSU wins that game.
No, I Florida all the way.
Yeah, so that's 5-2.
Yep.
LSU welcomes Ole Miss and the Fighting Lane Kiffins.
That's a little bit of a toss-up just because, they've got a new, Ole Miss has got a new quarterback, but
sure,
Ole Miss just had the best season they've ever had last year, and LSU was 6-7. So I'll go with the Fighting Kiffins and Charlie Weiss Jr. winning that game.
Agree, actually. So that's what, 4 losses at this point, or 3?
I think that's 3.
It's 3. Okay, well, 4th loss comes here when they welcome Alabama to LSU. That's 4 losses.
Doubt that one.
Arkansas is not the pushover in the SEC that they used to be, and it's
much improved.
It's at Arkansas,
and I'm going to take Arkansas. I'm calling the Hogs on that one.
Yep. So I
tell you what, when we went to Omaha to the College World Series, we were in the sports bar, watching some games, and the Arkansas fans came in like after their game or something, and they were calling the Hogs in there, and they were doing the whole. That's the first time I've experienced the calling the Hogs. It was something, man.
That's awesome.
And they'll be calling the Hogs all day when LSU visits Fayetteville.
Absolutely, no questions. That's 5. That's 5 losses. Okay, now next game, they should win this game. It is UAB at home. They should win that one. That's senior day.
I'll give him that one.
So that puts them over 500. They're 6-5, and then they have to go to Texas A&M to close out the season over Thanksgiving break.
No chance.
No. So that's a 500 team. That's 6-6.
Yeah.
That's 6-6, and we gave them the toss-up game against Florida State. So there's a chance that they could be a 5-7 team. And even if they're 7-5, even if they're 7-5 or 8-4, I don't think it's going to be close. I think there's no chance that Notre Dame.
No, that's a great point. Even like if they best case it and end up with an 8-4 record,
right?
There's no way.
And that is best case scenario, in my opinion, is 8-4.
Yeah.
That's the ceiling for them. So that doesn't match up at all. It doesn't have matchup
because
at
the
all.
floor for Notre Dame, like you said, you said the floor is 10. I'll even go 9.
Okay.
But
That's fine.
Again, that's the floor.
Right.
I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah.
Yeah. So that's an easy one. I mean, we went through the whole exercise, but that's still an easy one.
That was a good workshop, Vince.
Thank you.
I'm glad we did that. We worked our way through that. All right. Let me ask you this. We were going to do this question last night. I overlooked it, I guess. Somehow.
You did. That's
What
okay.
is the best college football play you have seen in person? Best college football play you've seen in person.
So there's 2 for me.
I thought you had a drum roll or something there. It sounded like in the background.
I think the kids have decided to come down to the basement.
Oh, okay.
So I'm being very liberal with my mute. Yeah, I'm being very liberal with my mute button. No, but so there's 2, and neither one of them were good for Notre Dame. One would be the play right before the Bush push. That pass that Matt Leinart threw.
To Jarrett, yeah.
That was one of the best passes I've ever seen because it was great coverage by Notre Dame. Absolutely great coverage, and he could not have handed the ball to Jarrett any better than that throw. I mean, it was a beautiful throw. That's the throw. That's the play that won them the game. I mean, that play right there, the Bush push gets all the publicity, but that was an amazing play in my opinion. The other one was, and I don't remember all of the details surrounding it, but it was the 2011 game, I want to say, in Michigan, where Michigan made that comeback, and it was the that little quarterback of theirs that was running around making all those plays, and he made that one play where he rolled out and he hit that kid in the corner of the end zone to win the game. That was heartbreaking. Maybe that's why it sticks out so much. But that was to lose the game. And for both of those, I believe I was standing next to you.
Well, see, I thought you were going to go with another one where we were standing next to each other. The UCLA game, the Brady Quinn to Shark touchdown pass. That's where that would have been my number 1, I think, before last year. And I know this is recency and the whole thing. Yep. And Toe Jam 1992 said Quinn to Shark to end the UCLA game. You and I were standing at the 10-yard line when that happened. Same spot we were standing in for the Bush push and the whole thing.
Denard Robinson, that was the kid, by the way. Denard Robinson. Yeah.
I'm going to go. I've got to go because I said this at the time and I am sticking with it. It was an I can't believe what I just saw moment. That Kyron Williams run against North Carolina.
Yeah.
And I watched it again today to refresh my memory. And it is nothing short of incredible that he even got out of the backfield, let alone ran 91 yards for a touchdown.
It was a broken play. Yes. It was a broken play. That play was supposed to go to the right. And it's funny, somebody in the chat was talking about how, I don't want as much dancing done by the running backs and they got to hit the hole and blah, blah, blah. There were hardly any holes last year.
He got swallowed up. The line of scrimmage was the 9-yard line. He goes right. He is smothered at the 5-yard line.
Yes.
Basically right after taking the handoff. So he reverses his field. He was probably face masked, watching it today. The stiff arm, boom, comes at the 4-yard line. So he is 5 yards in the backfield when he throws that forearm, and he's still trying to get to the sideline. He gets to the sideline, 5 guys in pursuit as he gets to the sideline, and then all of a sudden it's like there's Michael Mayer, boom, and it's like a dragon just blew out of nowhere and was throwing flames at that guy and lights him on fire. Kyron Williams runs by him. He's still got guys coming at him. Here comes Avery Davis streaking out of nowhere. And Avery Davis, again, if you watch the start of the play, Avery Davis was the wideout on the right side of the field. He was supposed to be the lead blocker initially. Yeah. He comes flying across the field, sets those couple screens, and there goes Kyron Williams for the touchdown. It's just, my jaw was on the floor the entire time that was happening. I just was motionless and speechless. Couldn't believe it. And that's fair. To me, it goes down as the best play I've ever witnessed live. And I'm not, I'm not at the mercy of recency and all, like I've said before, I'm not Mike Greenberg. I don't fall into like every most recent thing is the greatest thing that ever happened, but that was the best thing I've ever seen in person.
Yeah, no, that was a pretty cool situation, and it wasn't even a design play. Like, it was just a play that happened because he's a really good player. Like, that's how that went. You know what I mean? So that was actually pretty cool. Yeah.
Yep. All right, fill in the blank. It's blank that the St. Paul Pioneer Press is reporting that the Big 12 is trying to lure Minnesota to join the conference.
If that is true, so if this report is true, okay, it just reeks of Big 12 desperation, in my opinion. Just reeks of desperation. What does Minnesota have that you want so badly? The Twin Cities market?
I mean, honestly, that's about all you get. You get a decent sized TV market. That is all you get out of it from the Big 12's perspective.
I don't know. I don't see, outside of the fact that they need members, okay? I just don't see the attraction of Minnesota to the Big 12, to be honest. But
well, the other side of it is
really mean anything anymore. So
the other side of it is Minnesota. Why, if you're Minnesota, would you leave $80 to $100 million on the table, in your payout to go take like 35 or 45 million or whatever it is, that the Big 12 teams are getting right now in their payouts? I mean, I can see what, to some extent, I guess, why the Big 12 would have some interest. They're trying to get somebody, but again, it's like you said, Minnesota it's still Minnesota.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know how they benefit the Big 12, and I just don't see any way that Minnesota would say, yeah, we'll just leave half as much money on the table and walk away and go.
That's the best point. That's honestly the best point, because they're never going to make as much money in the Big 12 as they make in the Big 10. There's no way. So they're already on the gravy train. Why in the world would they jump off of it? They wouldn't be like the Texas of the Big 12 anymore. So, that's not who they would be. So why in the world would you just keep taking your butt kickings and cash those checks, man?
No, I mean, good point by Anthony. Minnesota would have a chance to win a conference championship in the Big 12, which they'll never have in the Big 10. But again, none of these decisions are made, based on what outcomes on the field. Like Texas and Oklahoma are not going to the SEC because it's going to give them a better path to the college football playoff.
Right.
Or having a chance to win more championships. It's all about the paychecks.
I mean, look, USC and UCLA didn't go to the Big 10 because they have a better shot of getting in the playoff. They had a better shot of getting in the playoff being a part of the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Because of the competition. It's money. Hello. Yep. No surprise there.
Yep. NFL's Hall of Fame game is tonight, Vince, in Canton. Raiders are going to play the Jaguars. Meanwhile, HBO's Hard Knocks with the Detroit Lions premieres next Tuesday. Which of those two are you more interested in?
That is one of the easiest questions you've ever asked me. Okay. It's Hard Knocks, and it's not close. Okay. The game tonight, number one, it's like a week before all the other games. All right. They've been in training camp for less than a week. And so you're telling me that there's going to be a competitive football game on the field when they've had training camp for less than a week. There is no chance. And I also heard that Trevor Lawrence isn't going to play. Derek Carr's not going to play. So, like, why am I watching this game? Just because it's football? I'd rather see the behind the scenes of what's going on in Detroit City, man. I like Hard Knocks. I like the behind the scenes stuff. Don't get me wrong. I like football. But if I want to watch crappy football, I'll go watch a scrimmage tomorrow night, because there's going to be a bunch of them around here at the high school level.
I was wondering where you were going to go with that.
So,
is tomorrow night scrimmage night already?
It is like inter squad scrimmage night.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that's early.
Yeah, scrimmage night's next week. But yeah.
What is it? 2 weeks from Friday.
2 weeks from tomorrow.
First high school games in Indiana.
Yeah, 2 weeks from tomorrow. Yeah.
Hopefully it's a little chiller outside. Yeah, I'm kind of. I always watch Hard Knocks for one. Yeah, that was my.
I've done that too. It's all
Thanks,
good.
Siri. And this whole Dan Campbell thing, and it's like he is an interesting guy, and but they've got some better players, Penei Sewell and Aiden Hutchinson. It's like they've got some guys up there now. So even though it's the Detroit Lions, it's like you don't have to be a good team to be interesting on Hard Knocks.
Absolutely.
They're always going to find the storylines.
Accurate.
Sometimes maybe they go too far out of their way to find some of those storylines, but at the same time, it's like I'm going to be interested by what happens on Hard Knocks. I will watch it every night. My wife is even, it's like the one sports show. It's like, well, I'll set the DVR.
That's great.
And, she's like, oh, Hard Knocks is on Tuesdays. And, so then we'll set the DVR. And then usually I'll stay up and watch it.
Right.
And then the next day she'll go, did you watch Hard Knocks? And I'm like, well, I did, but I'll watch it again with you. I've got no problem watching it again. So it's like, that's the one sports program that she will tune into is the, pseudo reality show when Hard Knocks comes on every year. So I'm in on that. I will say I did not watch the in season with the Colts last year. I tried to, but it was just like, you've actually got real games going on at that point. I just didn't find the in season Hard Knocks interesting at all.
Gotcha.
Yep.
But in the preseason one, there's so much optimism generally that I feel like it's better. But
yeah. Because again, it's kind of like making a highlight reel. You can make anything look good, when there aren't actual games being played, and it's like you can dress anything up.
You betcha. Betcha.
That's right. Okay, last question tonight. Odell Beckham Jr. crashed his head coach, Sean McVay's wedding this summer. Have you ever crashed a wedding, Vince?
I have not crashed a wedding. I think that's hilarious that he crashed his head coach's wedding, by the way. I'm going to be like a Debbie Downer again. I hate weddings. I am not a fan. If I don't have to go, I'm not going. It's just not something
See, I would think that, like it's like free food, you can get get a little cake at the end of the night, maybe dance a little bit, but mostly the free food,
Yeah, 100%. You're not wrong. I critique the food. I eat the food. And frankly, once the food is over and I get emotional when they're doing like the father-daughter dance and stuff like that, more so now that I have kids of my own, that kind of a thing. Once the dancing starts, it's time for me to get out of there. Like I'm good. Last time I danced at a wedding was August 7th, 2004. So that's
wow.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay.
I'm dead serious. It's not my thing.
I can't even remember the last wedding I've gone to. But no, I have not crashed one either. I've never thought about crashing.
Great movie though.
I do love the movie Wedding Crashers. Yes,
that's exactly right. Movies. Yes,
that's right. Yeah, I heard the story though. Like Peter Strager from the NFL Network, he actually got invited to the wedding, and he told the story in an interview that I heard about Odell Beckham Jr. crashing it, and he ended up. I don't think he ended up getting, put at his table, but they had to find a spot for him, and basically, like Sean McVay knows so many people that like there were requirements, like. If you were on the Rams coaching staff, it wasn't a given you were going to get in. You had to be on the staff for like at least 2 years or something like that. And he had like all these pecking orders of, like if you were on the team you had to be on. I think you had to either be a starter or, on the team for X amount of years, all this different
stuff. You're saying Ben Skoranek probably didn't get an invite?
Yeah, I don't think Ben got in. Maybe he should have tried to crash it with OBJ. So.
I think it's great. If I was him, I'd be like, you know what, whatever, man, let's have fun. Because by the time you get to the reception and like where the crash would actually happen, I don't care anymore.
Right.
It is what it is, man. Like I've already paid the check. Like we're good here. We paid.
Nobody. It's like you don't crashing the actual wedding isn't the thing. It's the reception that's the most important part anyway.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
Hey, don't forget, coming up tonight, Brian and Ryan have a live show coming your way 7:30. Which is when Baton Rouge linebacker Jaden Osbury is going to announce his commitment. So we've got that coming up here on Irish Breakdown. Speaking of weddings and anniversaries.
You took the words right out of my mouth, buddy.
Happy anniversary a few days early. Vince and his wife, my wife and I, share the same anniversary date, August 7th. So
That's
this
right.
Sunday. So it will be, 18 years for you now?
18.
18 minus 29. 29.
1 year from the big one.
That's right.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so I always think of my anniversary. I'll never forget yours, obviously, but I always think of my anniversary as also the anniversary of our friendship.
That's right.
We
met
met
around
right
that very
before the
same time.
So
that's right.
18 years, buddy.
Maybe we can tell that story Monday if you want to.
Yeah, sure. That sounds good.
All right, as we finish up, don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe, rate, leave us a comment. It helps us out. Fall camp starts Friday. We've got a ton of content coming your way. Irish Breakdown. I will see you out there, Vince.
Absolutely. I will see you tomorrow morning. And everybody make sure that it will not be this show. You got to click out and then click back in to see the Jaden Ausberry commitment and see where he ends up to play his college football. So very exciting.
We got some happy anniversary wishes. Thanks to all of you. And thanks to good old Salty. We can always count on him. You two need a private moment, Vince and Sean. So thanks for all the enthusiasm in the chat tonight.
Yeah, man.
You can feel a different kind of vibe in the chat as we get ready for fall camp to get started. That's right. Vince is doing his happy dance now. So
that's right.
All right. So Vince and Brian, of course, they'll be back tomorrow with a post-practice podcast.
Yep.
Otherwise, Vince and I will be back Monday on this here show. So thanks for joining us. Talk to you soon. IB Nation Sports Talk.